All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Senate Committee on Growth and Infrastructure. We're going to go ahead and get started. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Senator Brooks, Senator Hammond, Senator Pickard, Senator Spearman, Chair Harris.
Here, there are two members present. Will the secretary please mark members present as they arrive? We'll go ahead and open up in a subcommittee. Oh, Senator Hammond has arrived just in time, so we can start as the full committee. We will start with the hearing on AB 413 and welcome my colleague from the Assembly side, Chairwoman Danielle Monroe Moreno, to present the bill. Chair, go ahead and begin whenever you are ready.
Good afternoon, Chair Harris and Vice Chair Brooks and members of your committee. For the record, I am Assemblywoman Danielle Monroe Moreno, and I represent Assembly District 1, which, as I say, is the best district in the state. That's why it's number 1. And I'm here today to present Assembly Bill 413 for your consideration. This measure built on the work that started during the 2019 legislative session with Senate Concurrent Resolution 3, which directed the Legislative Committee on Energy to conduct an interim study to consider alternative solutions for transportation system funding in Nevada. There is a broad agreement on the larger issue that climate change is an issue impacting all Nevadans. Electric and hybrid vehicles may be beneficial in reducing emissions and helping Nevada meet its climate change goals. That infrastructure costs are high for maintaining alone millions of dollars. And this does not account for the replacement costs due to the changing federal requirements and new technologies. And Nevada State Highway Fund and other funds used to support local and state infrastructure has experienced the same budget issues as all other accounts. And the COVID-19 pandemic has exacerbated funding issues due to less vehicles driving on our roads, which in turn resulted in lower fuel tax revenues. Electric vehicles, or better known as EVs, are an increasingly popular options for consumers. JP Morgan Chase & Company estimates that by 2025, approximately 30% of all motor vehicle sales will be EVs. While there are economic and environmental benefits to be realized by consumers, the fact that EVs pay no fuel tax in support of our state highway fund while using Nevada's highways is a more complex issue and one with less consensus as to possible solutions. During the 2019-2020 interim, the Legislative Committee on Energy received a written recommendation signed by Nevada's Departments of Conservation and Natural Resources, Motor Vehicles and Transportation, along with Governor's Office on Energy, that requested to bring together and educated communities, individuals, and organizations to ensure everyone understood the scope of the issue and could properly participate in any discussions, analyzing or vetting proposed policy solutions. In response to this recommendation and the work of the interim study in response to SCR 3, the Legislative Committee on Energy requested this measure. AB 413 will require the Department of Transportation to establish an advisory working group to study certain issues related to transportation. It will meet during the 2021-2022 interim to address the following issues: the needs of the transportation users for every mode, which includes bicyclists, pedestrians, and transit users; social and user transportation equity; the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions; the sustainability of the State Highway Fund to include analysis of the Natural Resource Defense Council funding model and Utah's road uses charge program. The members of the committee will serve in a voluntary capacity. They will not be compensated. In Section 1 of the amended bill that you have before you today, the membership of the advisory working group must consist of at least 20, but not more than 30 people. The members must be representative of the various geographic areas and ethnic groups within our state. The membership shall also include, but is not limited to, members of clean energy, environmental, labor, metropolitan planning organizations and agencies, in addition to experts in taxation policy. Representatives from local, county, state, tribunal, and federal organizations with transportation and clean energy expertise, the chairs of both the Senate and Assembly Committees on Growth and Infrastructure, and other interested parties. In addition, through amendments that were proposed and accepted during the Assembly hearing of this measure, representative from local chambers of commerce, the Nevada Resorts Association, and 3 representatives from a list of persons submitted to the Department of Transportation by organizations and other entities which represent and promote the interests of minority groups of the state. The advisory working group will collect and monitor data and develop preliminary plans for the sustainability transportation funding system and submit a report with its recommendations to the 2023 legislative body. In conclusion, the issues of social and environmental justice, equity, and transportation funding and the use are not easy ones for us to tackle. There are also issues that will not be spontaneously resolved without attention and collaboration efforts. Assembly Bill 413 attempts to convey a working group that is broad and representative of all sections of our state to address the needs and issues of all sections of our state as propose sustainable solutions that will work for the state while addressing the transportation needs of all Nevadans. I thank you for your time and I urge your support for this measure.
Thank you so much, Chair. Are there any questions from committee members? Senator Pickard.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick question. As I went through the list of those participating in the advisory working group, I don't see those from the automobile industry, particularly the local, but maybe I'm missing it because it's quite a long list. But the local dealerships and those that are impacted by these decisions, is there a reason that they are excluded?
This is Assemblywoman Danielle Monroe Moreno, and to you, Madam Chair, through you to Senator Pickard.
You can go
No,
directly.
there was no reason that they were excluded. They could be included as a representative of local, county, or agencies. During the interim, we held a number of stakeholder meetings and representatives from the Auto Association participated in all levels and every stakeholder meeting. And I think we had, I'm going to say 6 or 7 with no less than 27, 30 members of our community at those meetings. And they were actively involved when this list was made during our work session. So there was no thought of excluding anyone. And I think they could be included in the others as listed.
All right, thank you. Other interested persons and entities, yes. And the reason I asked is because I was aware that they were involved in those conversations. So frankly, I was surprised to see that they weren't included. If they, made the statement that they didn't feel they needed to be, that'd be one thing. But I would hate to have someone who was at the table and participated in so much of the conversation then not be included in the advisory work group. That just didn't seem congruent to me. But of course, they should be paying attention to these things, so I'll let them speak for themselves. I just was wondering if there was a specific reason. There apparently isn't. I would like to see them participate because they're the ones that are going to be most directly impacted by whatever this results in. So thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Vice Chair Brooks.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno, and I was very happy to serve with you on this interim committee, and like you said, we had 6 or 7 meetings, both north and south, with and a lot of robust conversations and participation, which a lot of times these interim meetings don't get. And I think having a more structured look, and with a list of these folks that would be represented, in addition to, as Senator Pickard brought up, so others as well, like the auto dealers and the auto manufacturers and the trucking association and our highway builders and all. There's just so many people who this touches, and it's such an important issue, and it is very urgent. And I think that doing this work in the interim in a structured manner, with outcomes and deliverables going into the 2023 legislature is just something that's incredibly important. So I appreciate you doing this.
Thank you so much. Madam Chair, through you to Senator Brooks.
And
I too.
Chairwoman, you can go directly.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. I definitely enjoyed working with you in the interim on this subject matter. And we learned during the interim that it needed more work than just one interim. And the conversations would have continued. However, COVID interrupted everything. Although we were able to conduct a few meetings through Zoom, we just knew that it needed more in depth. And I guess I could have a list of 85 people on it if I put everyone had their own line. But it is my hope, and I believe the intention of that stakeholder group, that all of the interested parties that came out every other week, every month that we have the meetings, would stay engaged as this new advisory group continues.
And we have just another question from Senator Pickard.
Actually, just a confirmatory comment to the extent that when I was thinking transportation, that was the group I was thinking of that Senator Brooks just mentioned. Auto dealers, manufacturers, trucking association. You know, I hadn't thought of the people that are actually constructing the roadways. Brilliant idea. I think we should have them all at the table. So again, I don't know if other is good enough. We might want to enumerate them, but I think you've said it. We need to involve everybody who's touched by this, or at least give them the opportunity to join in and be heard. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Senator Spearman.
Senator Pickard, I think you would, if you heard from the group, they will let you know that I stay on top of my legislation through the interim. I follow it quite closely, and I bug people to make sure. And all of the interested groups that came together this past interim, I told them I would be bugging them to make sure they stayed engaged. And I think they can attest to that. I have their emails, their cell phone numbers. I will make sure that they stay informed, whether they want to be informed or not, as this issue progresses, because it's so important that we get it right for the state of Nevada.
And I am not at all surprised to hear that. You are on top of things, so thank you.
Senator Spearman.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'll attest to that. Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno has been like that for the last 12 years that I've known her. So, I just want to say a couple of things. The list is exhausted, and I like the way you have it phrased so that it leaves some leeway. If I could just ask one thing, though. To suggest someone from the senior population and someone from the differently abled population. I mean, I know that it's implicit in here, but a lot of times those two populations get overlooked when people are trying to figure out what they want to do. So and I say seniors because I guess the lack of any type of coordinated transportation, mature transportation system affects them probably the most. So, but great job, great bill.
Thank you.
And before we turn over to testimony, Assemblywoman, I just want to confirm on the record that it is your intention to commit us both to unpaid work over the interim.
Ma'am, we do the Lord's work in the people's house, and yes, I committed us to that.
All right. Does that conclude your presentation? And I believe.
Yes, Madam Chair.
And I believe we have no more questions. So I'll open up to anyone or the two people in the room if they'd like to come forward and testify in support. Looks like we have a taker.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Alexis Motorex with the Nevada Chapter Associated General Contractors, representing the commercial construction industry in Northern Nevada. We are here in support of AB 413. AGC has been an advocate for equitable and sustainable highway funding for years. We participated in the SCR3 committee during the interim, and although we would have liked to have seen something come from the committee's work other than another study, we would rather continue the conversation than risk the issue being ignored further. As the conversation was just had earlier, although we're captured under other, we would respectfully ask that a representative from the contracting community be listed as one of NDOT's appointees. And as I said, the AGC has been a longtime advocate for sustainable highway funding and can bring that historical knowledge as well as an unbiased perspective on construction. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the room? That would be a no. We'll go ahead to open it up to those on the line. BPS, if you could pull the line and see if there's anyone who'd like to testify in support of AB 413.
Thank you, Chair Harris. Callers, if you'd like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 413, please press star 9 now to enter the queue. Will the caller with the last 3 digits of 081 please state and spell your name for the record? You may begin.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Dylan Keith, DYLAN-KEITH, Policy Analyst with the Vegas Chamber, and we are in support of AB 413. We support the many studies that are going through this working group, and we are in full support of improving and the transparency as well as the system of transportation in Nevada. Thank you for your time. We urge your support on AB 413.
Will the caller with the last 3 digits of 516 please state and spell your name for the record? You may begin.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Amanda Brazo. That's A-M-A-N-D-A, last name Brazo, B-R-A-Z-E-A-U, with Grow Law Group on behalf of the Nevada chapter of the American Council of Engineering Companies. The Nevada chapter of ACEC supports AB 413 because of the need to modernize how we fund our highways as increasing mileage standards and advancing technology have continued to eat away at our existing funding model, making it unsustainable in the long term. ACEC supports the continuation of the study commenced after the last session in order to bring a comprehensive solution to the legislature in 2023. Thank you.
Will the next caller with the last 3 digits of 725 please press star 6 to unmute yourself? Thank you, caller. Please state and spell your name for the record. You may begin.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, this is Andrew McKay, A-N-D-R-E-W-M-A-C-K-A-Y. I am the Executive Director of the Nevada Franchised Auto Dealers Association. Just very briefly, we fully support this bill that is in front of you and thank the Assemblywoman for bringing it forward. Obviously, this is an extremely important issue and really appreciate her tackling it. And to dovetail off of what both she and Senator Brooks said not too long ago, the meetings were very productive over the interim, and we are really looking forward to this study going forward over the interim. So thank you for your time, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Appreciate you guys.
Will the caller with the last 3 digits of 135 please state and spell your name for the record? You may begin.
Good afternoon, Chair Harris and members of the committee. My name is Eileen, A-I-L-E-E-N, Pastor, P-A-S-T-O-R, with the Regional Transportation Commission of Southern Nevada. As the Metropolitan Planning Organization and public transportation provider for the region, the RTC is in support of AB 413, which will continue to study the state's mobility needs that includes long-term funding, equity, and sustainability priorities. Thank you to the Assembly Growth and Infrastructure Committee for sponsoring the bill, and we look forward to participating in these discussions.
If there are any additional callers who would like to testify in support of AB 413, please press star 9 now to enter the queue. Chair Harris, at this time, there are no additional callers wishing to give testimony in support of the bill.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone in the room who would like to testify in opposition? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and turn over to the phone lines to those who'd like to testify in opposition to AB 413.
Thank you, Chair Harris. Callers, if you would like to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 413, please press star 9 now to enter the queue. Chair, the public line is open and working. However, no callers have indicated that they would like to testify in opposition to the bill.
All right, thank you. Anyone in the room who'd like to testify in the neutral position? Seeing none, let's go ahead and see if there's anyone on the line who'd like to testify in neutral.
Thank you, Chair. Callers, if you'd like to testify in a neutral position for AB 413, please press star 9 now to enter the queue. Chair Harris, at this time, there are no callers wishing to give a neutral testimony.
Okay, thank you. We'll close out the testimony then on AB 413. And before I turn it back over to you, Assemblywoman, Senator Spearman would like to make a comment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to say I know that Secretary Buttigieg is ramping up his plans for infrastructure development along with President Biden, and so we may be able to find some synergy there and maybe some dollars for the study. That's all.
Assemblywoman, would you like to make any closing comments?
I'd just like to thank you and the committee for giving me the opportunity to present Assembly Bill 413, and I hope to earn your support for this piece of legislation. Have a wonderful day.
You as well. Thank you so much for joining us. We will go ahead and close the hearing on AB 413 and open the hearing on AB 54. It is my understanding we have Ms. Sandra Rosenberg. There she is, from the Nevada Department of Transportation. Ms. Rosenberg, please go ahead and begin when you are ready.
Thank you. Let's see, are you able to, well, hang on, let me get it started here. Are you able to see my presentation?
We are.
Great. Thank you so much for having me. Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. My name is Sandra Rosenberg, and I am the Assistant Director for Planning at the Nevada Department of Transportation. I'm here today to present Assembly Bill 54, the creation of an advisory committee for traffic safety. With me today is Amy Davey, Administrator of the Office of Traffic Safety, to assist in answering any questions if needed. I'd like to start with a little history on the committee and existing partnerships in traffic safety. The Nevada Executive Committee on Traffic Safety was established in 2005 to facilitate the Strategic Highway Safety Plan. The Strategic Highway Safety Plan is a federal requirement and requires that safety stakeholders are consulted during the development. The creation and facilitation of the committee not only helps us meet that requirement, but by bringing everyone together, creates a space for meaningful conversation about traffic safety and strategies to reduce the deaths and serious injuries on our transportation system, including partnering on some of the most pressing issues. This committee follows best practices for reducing deaths and injuries related to crashes, and that's driven by the data. There's a lot of data analysis looking at the actual causes of crashes resulting in death or injury. This committee reviews Progress provides guidance and addresses challenges, removes barriers, and receives recommendations from key area task forces and working groups. This committee consults the Strategic Highway Safety Plan on safety initiatives and provides support and assistance to specific SHSP strategies as appropriate, including recommendations for policy and legislation. This slide shows the current organization structure of the task forces and committees that develop and support the Strategic Highway Safety Plan. We evaluate data on leading causes of fatal crashes in our state and those are considered critical emphasis areas. Those critical emphasis areas here are denoted with the asterisk. However, we also recognize that the top causes aren't the only causes, and we want to address as many issues, particularly the cross-cutting ones, as possible. Therefore, we recently reorganized the structure to include categories of subjects we want to address in our overall strategies. Those include safer roads, vulnerable road users, safer drivers and passengers, and impaired driving. Task forces are created around the critical emphasis areas and coordinated in the larger categories to analyze data and develop strategies to reduce crashes in those areas. So for example, we do have a task force and have for some time on pedestrians. However, the plan now includes a broader set of strategies to look at all vulnerable road users. Traffic safety practitioners have for years focused on what used to be the 4 E's: engineering, education, enforcement, and emergency medical services. The past few years, we have added everyone, as we know it's not just the agencies who are responsible for engineering and enforcement, but we all need to work together, including the users of the transportation system. We very recently added equity as the 6th and very critical E. Although it's slightly different aspect as the others, it's really critical that we do a better job of not just looking at the numbers related to safety, but who is most affected, and wanted to put that out in front by adding equity as a critical focus going forward to incorporate in our analysis and strategies. The state, both NDOT and OTS, have a number of federal requirements with respect to plans and programs related to traffic safety. For example, we mentioned the Strategic Highway Safety Plan, which in addition to being a planning requirement, is also a requirement for creating the Highway Safety Improvement Program, or HSIP, which is the plan that actually allocates our federal traffic safety funding to projects. That project selection comes from the priorities and strategies identified in coordination with stakeholders in the Strategic Highway Safety Plan. In addition, both NDOT and OTS have a number of federally required performance measures, some of which must be identical between the agencies, including number and rate of traffic fatalities and the number of serious injuries. Other agencies may have other measures that are required, but it's critical for any of us to meet any of our measures that we work together on the strategies to improve safety overall, or that E for everyone. The bill was written, as written and amended, provides for a broad group of stakeholders at the state, regional, and local level, as shown on this slide. We feel that the proposed model of membership meets the need for representation of statewide subject matter experts in order to meet federal requirements. The goal is to have a broad range of stakeholders who have a statewide primary role in traffic safety. We've reviewed the existing Nevada Executive Committee on Traffic Safety membership and reached out to all members to confirm their voting or non-voting status, as well as reiterate the opportunity to participate in committee meetings, as well as task forces for anyone who's interested. The crosswalk of membership from the NECTS to this new proposed committee is available on Nellis. We are very interested in including as many perspectives as possible into the discussion while keeping the committee a manageable size and with the focus on statewide reductions in traffic fatalities and serious injuries. Another and very important and meaningful opportunity is participation on the working groups and task forces. These are the groups that work on particular critical areas and where a lot of the work occurs to ultimately make recommendations to the larger committee. So we've discussed the background, requirements, and membership, and now on to the actual roles of this committee. So this committee will review, study, and make recommendations regarding evidence-based practices for reducing or preventing deaths and injuries related to crashes. The committee will also review, study, and make recommendations on data on motor vehicle crashes resulting in death or serious bodily injury, including crash causes and prevention measures. We'll review policies intended to reduce or prevent deaths or injuries, and any other matter submitted by the chair. We will prepare and submit to the governor and legislature an annual report concerning advisory committee activities. If needed, establish working groups, task forces, and similar entities from within or outside its membership for further study. And we do fully anticipate continuing on with existing task forces and adjust as needed for any changes in what the data is telling us are the leading causes of crashes. So thank you so much for your time and interest in this bill, and I'm happy to answer any questions or defer to the current NECTS Chair, Amy Davey, from the Office of Traffic Safety. And I will
Thank you so much, Ms.
stop sharing, and there we go.
Well done. Thank you so much, Ms. Rosenberg. Are there any questions from committee members? Senator Hammond.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Rosenberg, I know that, first of all, the material is important, and I know what you want to try and do with the council. I also heard what you said about trying to keep the numbers low, but I'm seeing this more and more often. And perspective-wise, if you want to get more perspective, there's always, it seems like more and more often we're seeing these councils or committees or whatnot, that we get an appointment from the majority leader and the speaker, but we don't see representation from the minority party in these. Not that I expect that we'll be in the minority forever. I was hoping that one day we'd be in the majority, but we'd still want to have representation from both on these, at the risk of seeing the council or whatever committee getting larger. Just wanted to know if there was some consideration in trying to figure out how to get representation from the minority party as well.
So for the record, Sandra Rosenberg, Nevada Department of Transportation, we would be happy to consider that. And one of the important points I like to make for anyone who's interested in participating in this very important work, our meetings have been and will continue to be open to the public. The conversations at the committee meetings, although it is formal, we have an agenda and there are items we vote on, we are open to opinions and perspectives from everyone, whether they're a voting member or not. There's also opportunity for those task forces and working groups. But we would not be opposed to other legislative members if that's of interest to the committee.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
So I hear you volunteering to be the member from the Standing Committee on Growth and Infrastructure on the center side, Senator Hammond?
At this point, that would be up to the majority leader.
Are there any other questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and turn to testimony. We have no one in person anymore, so we'll just stick to the phone lines. BPS, if you could open it up for testimony in support of AB 54. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Harris. Callers, if you would like to testify in support of AB 54, please press star 9 now to enter the queue. Will the caller with the last 3 digits of 081 please state and spell your name for the record? You may begin.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Dylan Keith, D-Y-L-A-N-K-E-I-T-H, Policy Analyst of the Vegas Chamber, and we are in support of AB 54. We support the working group's dedication to increasing safety on our roadways as we work towards zero fatalities, and I'd also like to thank Ms. Rosenberg for her very thorough presentation. We urge your support on this bill. Thank you very much.
Will the next caller with the last 3 digits of 135 please state and spell your name for the record? You may begin.
This is Eileen, A-I-L-E-E-N, Pastor, P-A-S-T-O-R, again with the Regional Transportation Commission of Southern Nevada. As the region's MPO and public transportation provider, the RTC is in support of AB 54. Again, thank you to the Assembly Committee for sponsoring this legislation, and especially to NDOT and the Department of Public Safety for including us in the amended bill. We look forward to developing effective solutions for protecting all road users, including drivers, transit riders, bicyclists, and pedestrians.
Will the next caller with the last three digits of 398 please press *6 to unmute yourself? Thank
Good
you, caller.
afternoon, Chairwoman Harris and members of the committee. My name is Sabra Newby, SABRA-NEWBY, and I am representing the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. I want to thank NDOT, Ms. Rosenberg, and Ms. Davey for presenting this bill and for going forward with these changes. We are in strong support of the bill because of the inclusion of research experts into the committee. We believe that research is best when it helps transform our communities and ultimately can help save lives. For that reason, we are in strong support. Thank you.
If there are any additional callers who would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 54, please press *9 now to enter the queue. Chair Harris, at this time, there are no additional callers wishing to give testimony in support.
Thank you. Is there anyone who'd like to testify in opposition to AB 54?
Callers, if you would like to testify in opposition to AB 54, please press *9 now to enter the queue. Will the caller with the last three digits of 653 please state and spell your name for the record? You may begin.
Good afternoon, Chairwoman Harris. I'm in support, and I was delayed to press the *9. May I proceed?
You may.
Thank you so much. Happy good afternoon to you and the rest of the committee. My name is Dora Martinez, and I represent the Nevada Disability Peer Action Coalition, and we want to support AB 54. And thank you so much for all that you do. And please, Ms. Rosenberg, give a shout out to your ADA coordinator, Peter Earnshaw. He always helps us with the audible pedestrian signals, so people who are blind and hard of hearing can safely cross streets and walk about. Thank you.
Chair Harris, at this time, there are no additional callers in the queue. Would you like me to try again for opposition?
Why not? Let's go ahead and prompt him just one more time.
Certainly. Chair, callers, if you would like to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 54, please press *9 now to enter the queue. Thank you, Chair. At this time, there are no callers wishing to testify in opposition.
Thank you. Is there anyone who'd like to testify in the neutral position on AB 54?
Callers, if you would like to testify in a neutral position for Assembly Bill 54, please press *9 now to enter the queue. Once again, if you would like to testify in a neutral position for AB 54, please press *9 now. Chair Harris, at this time, there are no callers wishing to give a neutral testimony.
Okay, we'll go ahead and close the testimony on AB 54. And Ms. Rosenberg, I'll turn it back over to you for any closing comments if you'd like.
Thank you very much. Again, for the record, Sandra Rosenberg, Nevada Department of Transportation. I just want to thank the committee for hearing and considering this bill. I also want to thank Amy Davies, since she's here and didn't get a chance to speak, the administrator from Office of Traffic Safety, who's currently the chair of the existing committee. I also want to thank all the existing members, task force members, and everyone who helps us identify and improve strategies to reduce traffic fatalities and injuries. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We will put it on the record that Ms. Davy is awesome. I've worked with her on quite a few things, and so it's always nice to see you. We'll close the hearing on AB 54 and move on to our last bit of business, which is a work session on two bills, AB 150 and AJR 7. I'll turn it over to you, Ms. Scully, to walk us through AB 150.
Thank you, Chair Harris. For the record, Susan Scully with the Research Division of the Legislative Council Bureau. Assembly Bill 150 was sponsored by the Commission on Special License Plates, heard in this committee on April 21st. This bill requires the Department of Motor Vehicles to inform charitable organizations of the corrective actions they must take to end a suspension of the license plate and the collection of the fees if the suspension is warranted. If a charitable organization does not take corrective actions, or if the department does not terminate the suspension after they've taken corrective actions, the department may either terminate the production and distribution of the special plate and the collection of the additional fees, or distribute the additional fees to a different charitable organization meeting certain requirements. There were no amendments proposed.
Are there any questions from members on this measure? No? All right, seeing none, I'll accept a motion. All right, I believe that's a motion to do pass from Senator Pickard and a second from Senator Hammond. Any discussion on the motion? Oh, we get to do this by voice vote now. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, passes unanimously. Is there anyone who would like to take the floor statement? Senator Pickard will take the floor statement on AB 150. Ms. Scully, if you could walk us through AJR 7.
Thank you, Chair Harris. Assembly Joint Resolution 7 in its first reprint. It was sponsored by Assembly members Bilbray, Axelrod, and Peters, along with Senators Brooks and Orenshall and others. It was heard in this committee on April 21st. And for the record, I'm Susan Scully with the Research Division of the Legislative Council Bureau. AJR 7 urges the Congress of the United States to pass the National Infrastructure Bank Account of 2020, also known as HR 6422 of the 116th Congress. This would facilitate the efficient long-term financing of infrastructure projects, business and economic growth, and the creation of new jobs. No amendments were proposed at the hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Scully. Are there any questions? All right, what's the committee's pleasure? We've got a motion to do pass from Senator Spearman and a very, very close second from Vice Chair Brooks. Any discussion on the motion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Okay, motion passes unanimously. Senator Brooks, would you like the floor statement on that one? Okay. All right, with that, we will move on to the very, very last piece of business, and that is public comment. BPS, would you mind pulling the line, see if anyone would like to chat with us today?
Thank you, Chair Harris. Callers, if you would like to make public comment, please press star 9 now to enter the queue. Once again, callers, if you would like to make public comment, please press star 9 now to enter the queue. Chair Harris, at this time, there are no callers wishing to make public comment.
Thank you so much. Any closing remarks from committee members? Okay, seeing none, we will have our next meeting on May 3rd at 3:30 p.m. Until then, we are adjourned.